From childhood, we grow up sensing God's divine purpose for our lives. It's a stirring, a knowing deep within us that we were made to be, made to do something extraordinary. Who God says you are shapes not only your identity, but also your purpose in this life and God's kingdom plan for His world. Unfortunately, though, we run into this idea of calling. But what if we're not called to God's work? Then what? Are some called while others are left sitting on the sidelines? For these answers, we must go back to the very beginning, to the garden story in Genesis 1 and 2, where we first catch a glimpse of God's kingdom, where He rules. Genesis 1 opens with a God all-powerful, architecting and speaking into existence a good world. Then, in an unexpected twist to the story, this all-powerful God shares His authority. He creates the Adam, the human made in His own image. This created being is God's reflection, a representative of His interests in His world. Now imagine the Israelites first hearing this story after living enslaved for centuries. You see, power sharing wasn't something they had known from a ruler. On one hand, the idea of God's image being represented in the world was nothing new. You see, everyone understood that the king, the Pharaoh, was God's image reflected on the planet. And with that, they carried the title Child of God. But yet, this message held something entirely new. The idea that everyone was born a child of God, made in His image to reflect and represent God in the world, was shocking, radical even. So then, what does this have to do with calling? The misunderstanding of calling echoes back to the days of Pharaoh, where only a select few can take part in God's kingdom plan for His world. It separated our lives into the sacred and the secular, those who are called to full-time service of God, and everyone else. But nothing could be further from the truth. Here in this story, God makes it crystal clear. Who does God say you are? You are a child of God, made in His image. And with that birthright comes a kingdom calling to image our Creator in the world. You are not excluded from God's kingdom plan for His world. The who of God's mission is you.